Stop recording there. Let's see. All right. YouTube doesn't know exactly when to stop or start their weirdness. All right. For those of you that don't believe or think, that there are such things as conspiracies, that conspiracies have never occurred, then go back to sleep. You don't need to watch this. You don't. Go thank your overlords for the perfect world that we live in. Make sure that you donate to Red Cross, especially the Clinton fund, whatever that is. I don't even know because I don't even care. Go ahead and thank Donald Trump and everyone else, you know, how wonderful that they are doing as far as leading the world and making their order out of chaos. Yeah, symbolism, it's all just coincidence. So go ahead and start doing your little 666 OK over one eye thing. Just keep doing it. It's popular. All the celebrities out there are doing it. So feel free to go ahead and keep doing that. People who don't believe in these conspiracy theories. Why don't you hail the most popular thing that everyone else seems to be hailing in the celebrity world? Maybe even you know, do what's popular over in Hollywood and in the elite over in Congress and government positions. You know what that is. Oh, you don't know because you don't believe in conspiracy theories? Oh my goodness, you guys kill me. You guys do. Anyways, yeah, why do you guys care if there are someone's touting stuff that, hey, maybe we didn't go to the moon, hey, maybe we didn't go to Mars? If it was so obvious, maybe we wouldn't even have to question, and that we're being yelled at for even questioning. It makes me question what you're coming from. Oh, let's see that round of tundra, whatever you want to call it. Okay, without further ado, the last one of the week until I come back. I might be able to do things remotely, but who knows? And if it is, it's going to be through my laptop. So without further ado,
across America and around the world, you're listening to the Hour of the Time, the only hour that ever was or ever will be, for during this hour you will decide your future and thus our collective futures. I'm your host, William Cooper. Everybody look back in that corner at the far side of the room where it's real dark behind that chair. I'm going to turn on a very, very bright light, and I want you all to watch the cockroaches scatter. For tonight, I'm going to read verbatim to you from a book that we found in a dusty shelf far back in the rear of a used bookstore that proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that what I've been revealing to you in the mini segments of the series entitled The Mystery Schools on this program, The Hour of the Time, has been not only true, but right on target, and the first time that this information has ever been exposed in its entirety to the people of the world. Now, you had better go to the used bookstores in your cities, and you'd better get there before the cockroaches get there, because I tell you now, they know that we are searching for proof and that we are digging for the evidence that we will use in the future to hang them by their own rope. You need to get there first and buy any and every book that is concerned with any and every secret society, mystery, religion, or cult that you can find. If you don't understand them, and if you don't want to use them to help us expose these people, then send those books to us, because we will put them to the best use. I'm holding in my hand an old, faded, what used to be red hardbacked covered book. It's almost orange now because it's faded with age, entitled Fundamental Laws, 68th Convocation. On the front of the cover is some of the symbology of the mystery schools. There is a rope representing the snake eating its own tail, also known as the magic circle. Within this magic circle, there is a triangle, actually 3 triangles, one within the other. Within the triangles, there's the symbol of the skull and bones. There is the symbol of wings around the world. There's the symbol of the ark, the anchor, and the 3 letters TRY beneath the 3 triangles. This is the verbatim written report published in 1916, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm going to read to you from. Fundamental Laws, a report of the 68th Convocation of the Rose Cross Order, giving a resume of the proceedings of the Convocation, together with most of the lectures that were delivered during this time of the Convocation by the several delegates present. Also a report of the work of ancient initiation in the Grove of Osiris, as especially prepared for the occasion. Below that is the symbol of a triangle, with 3 stone steps representing the 3 degrees of initiation. Up on the top step is a cross, in the center of which is a rose. And beneath the triangle, again the 3 letters TRY. This is copyrighted 1916, published by the Philosophical Publishing Company, Allentown, Pennsylvania, for the members of the Rose Cross Order. On the next page is a roll of honor. One of the names here stands out and almost knocked me over when I saw it, for the name is Lars Hansen. Now, it is not the Lars Hansen that we've discussed on this show, and we're going to look into it to find out if this was his father, our grandfather, our great-grandfather. Could have been either one of the 3. But we will find out, believe me. We know that Lars Hansen's parents were members of the mystery school, and in particular, the Metternich-Stell group, where Lars Hansen was reared. In explanation of the contents of this book, and I'm reading verbatim from the introduction in explanation, in explanation of the contents of this book, it is to be stated that these articles do not give the inner work of the Rose Cross Order, but simply the outer, the public teachings. Now, you'll remember in the Mystery School series, I taught you about the exoteric and the esoteric. What you're going to get in this book, because they never publish the esoteric anywhere, it's always hidden in symbology, but there are incredible admissions in this book that you will hear in the exoteric. Reading again, verbatim. The Illuminati and its soul science work may be called the child of the Rose Cross Order. Years ago it was found that where there was one person who desired to follow the work with heart and soul, in other words, who was willing to live the life as taught by the order, there were 100 others who desired teachings from the order, but who were not willing to dedicate their lives to the sublime work. Now, I break from this for a moment to remind you that I have previously stated that the fraternity of Freemasons, the Ancient Order of the Rose and Cross, the Sovereign and Military Order of the Knights of Malta, the Knights Templars, the Mormon Church, all of these, the Illuminati, the Order, the Skull and Bones, are all the same organization. And what you have just heard is the first admission of that fact. And you are going to hear more as I progress. And remember, I'm reading this right out of their own publication, a hard-bound book published by the Philosophical Society in Allentown, Pennsylvania, specifically for the Rose Cross Order. Continuing. These thousands had to be taken care of, and as a result, the Illuminati and its soul science work was born. When in April, now that's April of 1916, folks, April of 1916, remember that. When in April the order went forth to the brethren that a sacred convocation was to be held, all delegates were requested to prepare articles on soul science so that regular lecture sessions could be held. The lectures that follow are the result. All these lectures were given in open session and are to be considered as soul science work, though in entire harmony with the teachings of the Rose Cross Order. The work of the Rose Cross Order as given to its students can never be published. It is a secret, sacred work between teacher and student. Let me read that again for you. It is a secret, sacred work between teacher and student. It is a soul training, an inner initiation, and such work continues until the student has reached initiation, after which he is called upon to attend a convocation, and at which time the degree work is conferred upon him. But the inner work always precedes the outer work, as the outer work is only a bond binding together the brotherhood. Thus a word in explanation. Many, having heard of the great order and its work, and actually knowing nothing of its inner work, have ignorantly or with fraudulent intent established so-called Rose Cross bodies. And these bodies, knowing nothing of the true work of the Rose Cross, have nothing but a ritualistic initiatory rite or degree work. We would refer all seekers to authorities on the Rose Cross and on initiation, and they will then find that the true Rose Cross is actually a school of spirituality with a degree ceremonial initiation as the climax. And this is signed by the Hierophant of the Order. In the preface, early in the summer, instructions were received from the hierarchies to call the inner circle of the Rose Cross Order into session, and thus to fitly celebrate the 68th year of the Rose Cross Order in America. Orders were immediately issued to those who have the privilege of attending this convocation, and on June the 1st, 1916, the convocation was called to order and the preliminary lectures were started. At this convocation, all delegates were instructed to prepare and to deliver articles which should have a bearing on the conditions of the present day and which should be the means of helping humanity. However, because of the limited amount of time at the disposal of those who could attend, only a few were enabled to prepare such lectures, with the results that there were not as many lectures delivered as might have been had the delegates had more time at their disposal. But even so, there were from 2 to 3 lectures each day, and most of these lectures will be found in this present volume, though many of the lectures cannot be given in book form, as they were only delivered as from teacher to those of the inner circle. From the beginning of the month until the day of the 13th, there were lectures in the Assembly Hall, which had been built in 1910 for the express purpose of holding these yearly convocations. But on the 13th there were no lectures, as all of the day was required for making the preparations necessary in order that the ancient mysteries might be given to the delegates in a form of symbolism consisting of 3 degrees. I can do no better than to give the article prepared by Grace K. Morey of Buffalo, New York, the secretary of the Rose Cross Sacred College for the Buffalo, New York papers, and which appeared in the Buffalo Express, July 16th, 1916. This is entitled Ancient Mysteries of Egypt Given in an Initiation of 3 Degrees. Pay close attention, folks, for what you're going to hear now confirms much of what I have been revealing to you in the series on the Hour of the Time known as the Mystery Schools. Quoting from the book once again, under the authority of the Rose Cross Order founded in America in 1858, prominent delegates of the order were gathered in the most remarkable conclave held during the last 5,000 years, the publication of whose records now opens to the world the connection of Egypt in her ages of true religion, power, and glory with the mystic seal of the United States, whose heraldic symbolism declaring the mighty destiny of America has until now only been known to a limited number. Not anymore. At Beverly Hall, in the beautiful Tohickon Valley, about 4 miles from the town of Quakertown, men and women of all ranks of life and from all parts of the world, high masons and members of the Eastern Star, physicians, teachers, authors, and members of all denominations, inclusive of the Hebrew, all these assembled at the call of the Grand Master of the Rose Cross Order for the 68th Convocation. And that should silence the cockroaches who are now scurrying from the light, who say that they are not all one order. They are known as the Brotherhood, the Order, the Ancient Order of the Rose and Cross, the Fraternity of Freemasons, and, of course, those of you who have been listening know the rest. Reading again from the book, some years ago, R. Swinburne Clymer, author of The Philosophy of Fire, Ancient Mystic Oriental Masonry, The Rosicrucians, Their Teachings, Mysteries of Osiris, Soul Science and Immortality, and over 30 other works, bought a mountainous tract of land, and on this was built, quote, Beverly Hall, unquote. An assembly hall, press rooms and libraries and chemical laboratory, which surrounded by orchards, vineyards, and rose gardens, set in terraced lawns, presents with its collie kennels and poultry plants a splendid combination of the beautiful and the practical. To this has been added the mystic, for in a secluded and wooded tract of 50 acres of this land, an artificial lake was made from a mountain stream, a throne room erected, and other improvements made which would be needed for the initiation of neophytes in the Egyptian mysteries. The Convocation was called to order on June 1st in the Assembly Hall, built over 5 years ago for that purpose, and the delivery of a series of lectures upon practical as well as mystical subjects began and continued until the close of the Convocation. The delegates and teachers presented the lectures, which were followed by discussions upon the subjects of eugenics, scientific motherhood, code of ethics for the schools and home, spiritual Christianity, that's a joke, personal hygiene, diet and health, sin, authority and individuality, Jacob's ladder, initiation, reincarnation, soul development, the second coming of the Christ, and the mystic significance of the seal of the United States. In the time of Solomon, as in the time of the Egyptian priesthood, no ceremony was ever held unless the circle of Solomon, commonly called the sacred seal of Solomon, had been previously prepared. But since the fall of Egypt and of the Temple of Solomon, this seal has been practically unknown, except to a limited number of students of ancient religions and mysteries. Folks, the seal of Solomon is not the six-pointed star which is on the flag of Israel. It is not the seal of David or the Star of David. It is not the seal of Solomon, as you will soon discover. During the first week in June, in the Grove, especially prepared for the dramatization of the ancient mysteries of Osiris, the seal of Solomon, often called the Magic Circle, was especially built, and on June 11th, the dedication of the Magic Circle took place in the presence of the delegates of the Rose Cross Order, some of whom were natives of Germany, England, and Russia. This was in accordance with the system as practiced by the ancient priests of Egypt and the Sanhedrin of the Temple of Solomon. On the night of June 13th, the first session of the class, including those of the order taking part in the initiation, assembled in the grove of Osiris, which was illuminated by electricity from a central powerhouse especially prepared for the purpose, and the initiation of the ancient mysteries of Egypt in 3 degrees and 6 scenes. All students of the ancient mysteries and religions know that in the Temple of Solomon there were 3 courts. The outer court for the people being composed of 700 selected teachers and leaders. These were members of the first degree, Illuminati called also seekers, travelers, or soldiers. The middle court, or members of the second degree, were 70 in number and were supposed to be in the hall of meditation and acted as mediators between the people and the inner sanctuary. Above all was the inner court, or circle of the 7 priests and the master or high priest, who were the teachers between God and man, mediators between the seen and the unseen. In the Egyptian mysteries, the first court was made up of the royal youth of Egypt, and such students from foreign countries as desired to enter the temple and priesthood, and these during probation were often known as, quote, soldiers of the priesthood, unquote, as it was their duty while undergoing the preliminary training and test to guard the priesthood and its work even to the death. The second class, corresponding to a second degree, were those who had passed this test, and who were in the hall of meditation and purification in preparation for the first vows and the dedication of the body, mind, soul, and spirit to God and the service of mankind. The third class, called the third degree, were those who had passed with credit the tests of the first degree, the purification of the second, as well as the various stages of development required of all students in the halls of meditation. In the royal third degree, which took place in the temple, the neophyte received the final instruction. After this came the final test in the beautiful ceremony of the death of the old life, the giving up of the body and its temptations, and the raising of the slain Osiris, our spiritual body, by his faithful spouse Isis, the soul, with the final illumination. On the 15th of June, the first section of the representatives left Beverly Hall for their respective homes, and the second section began to arrive for the preparatory lectures, and on the 19th of June, the ceremonies were repeated so that all might witness the initiation and take part in it so as to become members. So far as can be learned, either through travel or history, never before since the fall of Egypt and its priesthood and the fall of the Temple of Solomon has there ever been a grove, a lake to represent the Nile, a magic circle, or a temple prepared, nor is it believed that anywhere in the world does there today exist such a circle. Nearest to this, however, is Stonehenge of the Druids of Britain, to which their descendants travel each year at a certain time to greet the sun and renew their vows. This is the first time, therefore, in 5,000 years that any order has attempted to build up this sacred emblem under the stately oak so that people of modern civilization might witness the beauties of the life and religion of the ancient people whose teachings of individual soul development made the glory of Egypt, the lost dreams of all Israel, the teachings of the Magi of Persia, all that was true in India, the splendid philosophy of Greece, the magnificence of the early Romans, the basis of pre-Christian Ireland's great schools, as well as the familiar Holy Grail legends of Britain, Celt, and Gaul. In this light of brotherhood of man and fatherhood of God was founded this great republic foretold by Virgil, upon whose seal is set the Egyptian pyramid, completed by the white stone of spiritual purification as the crown of the ages. It's time for our break, folks. Don't go away, for I'll be right back after this very short pause. Well, I see some of you still have not called Swiss America Trading Corporation, and I can't help but wonder why not. What's holding you back? You profess to really get good, solid information from this show. You are all concerned about the coming economic collapse, and it is coming. You want to know how to protect your assets, and we've done everything we can to get you to call Swiss America Trading so that you can prepare for what's coming. Now, they have all the recommended investments that we've given you on this program. They have some that we don't recommend, and they have some that we don't know anything about. It's your money. You have to decide what you're going to do with it. But what I'm telling you, folks, is we've checked these people out. We've checked out Swiss America Trading. They're just like you and I. They're patriots. They care about this country. They backed this show, and no one else would have done it. They need your business, and you need their help to survive the coming economic trauma. So pick up the phone right this moment. Don't wait. Pick it up now. Call Swiss America Trading at 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. Do it now. Do it right this moment, and invest the time it takes to read one of the most important publications that you'll ever get in your hands, chock full of information. All you have to do, folks, is mention my name, William Cooper, and ask for the information on protecting your future. Call now, 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646. You'll be glad that you did. In the winter, far beneath the snow, lies a seed that with the sun's love becomes the rose. Only those of you who have listened to the full series of broadcasts on the Hour of the Time of the Mystery Schools will understand exactly what that means. And you will know and have an entirely different understanding of that song, which is beautiful, to say the least, but does not convey the message that many of you have always thought you heard. You see, the mystery schools speak to each other in symbology, in a symbolic language that they have learned to use over the millennia to hide their real secrets, their real intent, their real work, which has always been from the beginning to reestablish on this earth an ancient government ruled by a council of wise men, a benevolent despotism, a one-world totalitarian socialist government. Don't ever forget that, folks. If you love being free, the New World Order utopia is not for you. And it certainly is not for me. Continuing now from the book entitled Fundamental Laws, the publication of a report of the 68th Convocation of the Rose Cross Order, during which they admit the existence of the Illuminati, they admit the existence of the Order, they admit the existence of the Brotherhood, they admit that all of these secret organizations, including Freemasonry, are all the same organization, all working toward the same goal. An incredible admission printed in their own publication, a hardbound book found up on a dusty shelf way back in the rear corner of an old used bookstore. Such is the work of the Citizens Agency for Joint Intelligence, CAGI. You too can become a member by sending $45 to William Cooper, Post Office Box 1420. That's Post Office Box 1420. Sholow, SHOWLOW. That's Sholow, Arizona, 85901. That's $45 for your membership. to William Cooper, Post Office Box 1420, Shoalo, Arizona 85901. Also, I need to tell you folks, Stan has retired. Please don't call his number. Please do not write or send orders to his old address. Stan got tired, and I don't blame him, and he has retired for the third or fourth time and probably the last. Stan did some incredible work for our cause and our organization. We've always loved him. We will always love him. He will always be in our hearts. And we will, of course, miss him. Quoting again from the book, the American constellation of 13 stars, set in the form of a double triangle, was foretold by Merlin of King Arthur's court, and the philosophy of the Holy Grail and of Egypt's glory and Solomon's temple has been the day star of every great American statesman from Washington to Abraham Lincoln. Now, if you've been listening to this program, you know the day star is a reference to Lucifer, the light bringer, the angel of light, the morning star, also known as the son of the morning. After the ceremonies in the grove, there was given in the dining room of Beverly Hall at midnight a feast of the gods, at which neither meat nor spices formed part of the menu, but only fruits, nuts, and other products of sun-kissed foods. And that should tell you something about sun-kissed oranges. The conclusion of the rites was held at sunrise in the grove with a musical communion service, at which nectar of roses distilled from the 30,000 roses blooming each June upon the lawns at Beverly Hall was served as emblematic of the wine of the soul, and for this service the rose bushes were planted several years ago. This is also from the book, folks. I wish that all the readers of this book might have been present at the preparation, at the building, and at the dedication of this ancient magic circle. Or I wish that I might be able to give a detailed description of these sublime ceremonies in this book. However, I cannot do this here, though I hope that in some future work I will be able to do so. Sufficient be it to say that when the stone, made out of cement by one of the brothers, was nearly finished, the dedication took place, and the emblems placed in the stone itself before it was completed were: the American Beauty Rose in full bloom. This as a representation or symbol of the soul that has reached full illumination. The mystic ring. This was a solid gold ring belonging to one of the members present, upon which had been engraved the cross and the pentagram. All members of the Magi will know what this symbol stands for. The ring itself, as is known to the Magi, is a protecting agent against all evil or malignant influences when worn during any ceremonial or developing work. And the true magic mirror. This is an emblem of the soul, which when fully developed will act as a mirror to the universe, wherein may be wisdom and truth. Lastly, a complete copy of the private textbook entitled, quote, Ritualistic Occultism, unquote, which contains the ceremonies as made use of by the Magi. And 4 of these ceremonials were made use of by 4 of the Magi in the dedication of the magic circle. When all of this had taken place, the stone was completed, and then later in the day the characters were engraved upon the stone by the brother who had completed the stone. Of the midnight feast to the gods, and of the morning services which took place in the grove, it is not lawful for me to speak at this time. But it is my sincere prayer that all who are enrolled in the sacred schools may someday be present with us and witness these sublime ceremonies, especially as they are conferred in the spring of the year. In the spring of the year. Arrangements were made by the delegates present through voluntary contributions to either buy another large grove, or if that is found impracticable, to build a much larger hall in the Grove of Osiris, so that advanced ceremonies may be held the coming spring at the 69th Convocation of the Rose Cross Order. Now I'm going to reveal something to you that I have never told you before on this program. I've been working up to it, and now is the time to tell you before I read from the next section of this book. For then you will understand what has been happening in the last 50 years and what is happening now. It was Harry Truman, a 33rd degree Freemason, who signed the United Nations Treaty, who pushed through and signed the United Nations Participation Act. It was also Harry Truman, a 33rd degree Freemason, operating in concert with Wild Bill Donovan, the head of the OSS, a member of the Sovereign and Military Order of the Knights of Malta and of the Order of the Knights Templar, who created the National Security Act, pushed it through Congress. Harry Truman signed it. It created the umbrella of national security, a curtain of secrecy. It created the Central Intelligence Agency, and behind this curtain of secrecy, the secret societies have been working to destroy the sovereignty of all nations and bring about a one-world totalitarian socialist government. And folks, all of the bugaboo enemies that you've been afraid of all your life were never enemies at all. For these were deceptions, manipulations. The only enemy, folks, that the people of the world have ever had is right here in this country, down at the corner in your town, in the temple that has no windows. And now, reading again from the book, the report from the 68th Convocation of the Order of the Rose Cross. Introduction to the Great Seal. It is rather a strange and an unknown thing for one to write an introduction to a single chapter appearing in a book, but the conditions are so unusual as to warrant it. More than a year ago, Grace K. Morey, the author of the article, The Great Seal of the United States and Its Mystic Significance, prepared a sketch for a short primer of the Illuminati teachings. And in this sketch, as will be shown by the drawings, it was brought out that man is not only a threefold being, but that he is actually a fourfold being as well. In short, that when he has succeeded in reaching soul illumination, he is the completed pyramid or true triangle. If the student will give serious study to the article on the seal of the United States, he will find that on the reverse side of the seal, which is as yet uncut, there is to be found the pyramid, but with the capstone as yet not placed, and thus he will see that the philosophy of the Illuminati is the absolute and undeniable philosophy upon which these United States are founded, as is clearly indicated by our fourfold philosophy, by the drawings representing our philosophy, and by the drawings of the reverse side of the United States seal. And thus it would appear that the unseen hierarchies which shaped the foundation of the great republic which must some day rule the world are the same hierarchies which gave us the soul science philosophy as taught by the Illuminati. And now you know why what has happened in this country has happened, and you now know why what is happening today is happening, and you now know why on the reverse of the Great Seal of the United States are the words Novus Ordo Seclorum, which literally translated means the new order of the ages, also known, ladies and gentlemen, as the New World Order. But I won't let you rest with that shock. Listen to this, dear listeners. Hold on to your chairs, because the incredible admission that is coming to you right out of the pages of this book is going to knock you flat. Reading again from the book. And thus it would appear that the unseen hierarchies which shape the foundation of the great republic which must someday rule the world are the same hierarchies which gave us the soul science philosophy as taught by the Illuminati. And now let us look into the future, not far, but just beyond the line. We find that scholars condemn the design of the reverse side of the United States seal, that it has never been cut, but has remained hidden as though it were something to be ashamed of. However, though this appears the truth, it is not the truth. The reason why it has never been cut is because the time is not yet, as the capstone has not yet been set. And what is this capstone? My reader, prepare for a shock. When Atlantis ruled the world, that which is now America was connected with Egypt by what is now Mexico, and in Mexico and the territory of Yucatan there is a pyramid in which the fire philosophers worshipped God as divine fire and life in like manner as did the initiates of Egypt, for the two were then one. America is not complete, and will not be complete, cannot be complete, until Mexico is again part of America as she was in the long ago. And when Mexico is once again a part of the United States, then will the capstone have been set on the pyramid, and the reverse side of the United States seal will be cut. Thus you will see that the Soul Science Primer with its drawings is but the beginning of the article concerning the seal of the United States, while the article on body, mind, spirit, and soul is the final thereof. May it not be long until the Holy Pyramid shall be completed, and may it be completed without the shedding of blood. Lovingly given, R. Swinburne Clymer, Beverly Hall, Quakertown, Pennsylvania, July 6th, 1916. And now you know the final truth, ladies and gentlemen. Now you know the purpose of the free trade agreements. Now you know the purpose of GATT and NAFTA. Now you know where we're headed. Now you know that the middle class in this country is doomed. Now you know that the New World Order is being brought about by the intelligence community and the secret societies whose headquarters are in the United States of America, just 13 blocks from the White House. Now you know, in the incredible admissions in their own writing in this book, published by the Ancient Order of the Rose and Cross, now you know that the Illuminati is real, that Freemasonry is a part of the Illuminati, that the Rose and Cross is a part of the Illuminati, that they are also called the Order, the Brotherhood, that they also consist of the Knights Templars, they also consist of the Knights of Malta, and all of the other secret societies whose organizational structure is in the shape of a pyramid, with a few at the top who really know what the great work and the great plan is, and a whole bunch of slathering idiots thirsting after the secrets on the bottom, who will never, ever know anything. Are the cockroaches scattering? If this broadcast doesn't do it, nothing will. If this doesn't wake you up, ladies and gentlemen, nothing will. If you don't understand now the 18 hours of the series that I've aired on the Mystery Schools, you will never understand it now or in the future. If you don't know where we're headed now, then you never will. If you are not concerned now, then you have already placed the chains upon your ankles, and you have already watched freedom fly. If this broadcast does not do it, nothing will. This is the last voice of freedom. This is the only revelatory media source in the world today. The hour of the time is the only outlet for truth left upon this earth. Ladies and gentlemen, what you have heard tonight is the final parting of the curtain. It is the opening of the last door that was to be opened. It is the final understanding of where we have been, where we are at, and where we are going. It is the light. It is the illumination in the darkest corners, you are looking at the forbidden fruit. You have heard tonight what you were never to hear, what has been forbidden for thousands of years. You now know what the great work is. You now know who is bringing it about. You too can find this book if you search hard enough in the incredible admissions that are contained within it. Will give you the ammunition and the armor to march out here on the battlefield with me and many others who are trying to stop what is coming. Remember what Mr. Swinburne said at the end of his article, and I'll read that to you again. May it not be long until the Holy Pyramid shall be completed, and may it be completed without the shedding of blood. Lovingly given, R. Swinburne, Clymer, Beverly Hall, Quakertown, Pennsylvania, July 6th, 1916. And I am telling you now, their goal is to destroy all other religions save theirs, destroy all existing nation-states save theirs, and shackle the mob, and that is you. Good night, dear listeners, and God bless you all.
Okay, if you look at your son of a bitch. Okay, if you look at your chat on DLive and on YouTube, the description box, you can go ahead and join. We could discuss it. So, 20 hours leading up to it. Finally. Oh, sorry about my hair. Craziness. Curtain is revealed. Ta-da! It's like if you haven't figured it out by now and it's kind of wondering where you've been, it's only taken me, what? Since when did I start going down the rabbit hole? Maybe like 4 months, 5 months? I mean, come on. Maybe it's too crazy for you. Maybe there's just a mathematical equation telling you the probabilities of whether it's a conspiracy or not. It's just the way things naturally flow. There is some truth to it. But yeah. All right. One thing I noticed, let's look at the movies that are coming out now, or new shows, remakes. I mean, we all heard that Hollywood's got no more ideas. I don't know about that. Hollywood's got a great amount of ideas. People have got a lot of ideas. Great stories out there that they haven't made, but you know what? They need that symbolism in there. They need that narrative. They don't have that narrative. It's just not for them. I don't know which, actually. It's not even that. I'll just go to Uprising. He's not that bad. He's kind of like Illuminati Watcher, just kind of like more Christian. Call for an Uprising is definitely a Christian guy. He's follows the occult very much so. I would say he's the next, if there is a next thing coming for picking up where Bill Cooper left off. This is it. Illuminati Watcher, on the other hand, he's kind of like me. He's an agnostic. we like some of the works. We like some of the things that are out there, even if it's a cult. But we understand where it's coming from, and we may not like the people making it. But hey, story's a story. I thought one was interesting. A lot of witches out there.
Once the world was full of wonders. But
how all this is tied together with a bow.
I won't really show too much, but I mean, look, they're remaking Charmed. I'm not sure how popular Charmed was in the first place. I never watched it. I don't know if you guys watched it or not, but here he goes. Let's make Charmed famous again. Let's make witches great again. Let's rehash the same old stories of zombies, witches, werewolves, vampires, etc. I don't know. Is that really you guys into that? You guys want to keep watching that stuff? Okay, Perseus. I will. So if you refreshed your YouTube, you can get it, but I'll go and post it in live chat as well. There you go. You can use that to get in. And then there's that video of the guy who just died. I don't know. He thinks it's pretty demonic. Not yet, Erica. I'll let you know when. Hey, Perseus, how's it going?
Good. Oh, and right away before I forget it,
Yep.
I have to tell you what I thought about that the ending piece there.
Sure.
The Cooper thing.
Yep.
So absolutely, that the narrative about you know the contact between the Mesoamerican civilizations and Egypt, as well as the issue of okay, so the Mississippian civilization shows a lot of the same infrastructure design types as the civilizations in the Yucatan Peninsula used, like the kind of earthworks they constructed, okay? And they also constructed their holy sites along the same points along rivers. So it either points it to it being like a descendant civilization or just another group of people who are influenced by trade with the Aztec. But in archaeology right now, there is a huge push to try to prove this theory that Bill Mitchell or Bill Cooper there was talking about, where there's people going out of their way trying to actively prove that. And what's interesting about it is that a decent amount of proof has come up that's kind of incontrefutable in terms of proving that contact happened in antiquity. But there's nothing in terms of, there's no writings that have been made public. There's nothing that's like carvings with like significant amount of data on an inscription or anything. So that you can't actually say anything about the cultural practices that were happening at this time. It's just, okay, we found some artifacts and someone else's narrative is being pushed onto the fact that there could have been contact.
So, and we're getting to very, very conspiracy theorist, because Bill Cooper, if you don't know, he saw a lot of stuff as far as when he was in the naval intelligence, and he got unfettered access to a lot of very secretive, top secret even information, because he had to vet it to present it, stuff like that. But he didn't know which ones were planted to just make sure, because he even said himself, see which people can actually keep the secrets, because if they let out, so for example, imagine you give a packet of information to people who have access, you give another packet to someone else. You have one or two stories in there that are too incredible to believe that they'll leak it, and they know exactly which one. That story doesn't get sent to anyone else. This story that they sent, a packet that's sent to this person, doesn't get sent to anywhere else. So they know that if someone's leaking it, they know who leaked it, type of thing. At least that's the way I think about it.
Well, also slight grammatical errors. If they're just leaking the documents, slight grammatical differences between the documents can be used to identify which individual.
There you go.
is doing it.
Yeah, I mean, heck, if we can think of it, I'm pretty sure they've thought of it already. So,
Yeah.
he, early on, before he started doing the Hour of the Times, he was going on about, okay, that there really are aliens out there, UFOs and things like that. Then he realized, you know what? After researching like the occultism and stuff like that, it's probably more of a hoax, more of a plant, just kind of like disinfo. And one of the major conspiracy theories out there right now is that the New World Order is going to use that alien, that, hey, there really are aliens, and they're going to come and conquer us, and we need to work together. And in order to do that, we got to stop fighting these wars. We need to have one centralized government and stuff like that. That way, everyone goes, okay, yeah, that makes
Even
sense.
though it'd be such a clusterfuck that it would never function in the long term.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like the whole Project Bluebeam thing scares me because there are so many people out there who are primed. They're like, if you ask me, the Christian community in the United States is actively being primed for some sort of holographic second coming event.
Yeah.
Done through some kind of psyop like that.
Like a hologram from the sky or something.
Yes, well, you know how they have that, directed. Well, I mean, it's conjecture, or no, it's not. I think they've proven this one. The whole, oh yeah, they admitted that this technology exists. The ability to transmit messages into people's minds directly, remotely. So combined that, targeting multiple people, and like the image of, in the movie Monty Python and the Holy Grail, how when God appears to them, he just opens up a door in the clouds and it's all like, resplendent and everything.
Yeah.
Like basically, have a targeted community and prime them for this kind of happening. Then this appears in the sky, these people hear it, and they're driven to do whatever they're being manipulated into.
Kind of like a lemmings movement. It's like, hey, there's a lemming. He's going somewhere. Let's follow. And then they all fall off the cliff.
I'm sure there's lots of people who wouldn't do the intended result. I'm sure there's people who would just try to pretend they didn't experience anything. There would probably be people who just reacted violently or psychotically in general and didn't do what they were instructed to do. So it's kind of like, it would be really good for causing chaos, but I don't think you could use it to just orchestrate things perfectly.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've heard of Richie from Boston. He's pretty famous. I'll show you his page. He's a conspiracy theorist, and some people think I'm a crazy conspiracy theorist, but man, you gotta listen to Richie from Boston. He has some mannerism. He's got a rough voice. He's usually driving around in his truck, and but I digress. Subscribe or don't. That's kind of his mannerism. It's funny. But he's got something that I don't agree with. Is his predictions of stuff. I don't know if he's disinfo or what, or I don't understand, or if it's just really belief. But
well, do you think it's like a persecution complex thing?
For him?
Because sometimes people tend to be overtly pessimistic on channels like this because they're basically like fear porn for their viewers.
I don't know.
I think that there's some channels that the way they're designed and they go out of their way to use a certain kind of background music and stuff, that it's very much like almost like a fear response, a porn.
I mean, I mean, look, yeah, I mean, it's definitely fear-based. It's like something terrible is coming in 2018. We could check out, like, I'm just highlighting the ones that are 2018.
Well, you
and it's
want to
like
know something
the
crazy?
year the Earth was terraformed, 2018. 2018, the next 9/11, they are their cult. WWE.
Do you remember when that thing happened in the American Southwest? It was 2 or 3 years ago. It was a big military operation that everyone was paranoid about, and like a bunch of states deployed their state guards to make the people calm down.
And then that pretty much escalated it. I don't remember that.
Oh no. Yeah, there was this whole thing. Oh yeah, I guess like it was a big phenomenon in the right-wing community in like 2016 or something. Like in the summer of not the summer of 2016, the summer of 2015 actually. I think that was the year. And basically, it was like some big military exercise in the American Southwest. People said, "Oh, it's Obama coming to take our guns," or "It's Obama trying to remove the state governors," or something like that. And people are all hyped up. Like people really thought that it was about to be like shit hits the fan. And I was in a position to be lucky enough to be in a conservative part of the states when it was all happening, as opposed to being in Canada and looking at it just on the internet. It was people were going nuts. Like on the local radio stations, people were saying all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, hold on, give me a second. So like what did you have to tell them? What things,
What do you mean?
like when they're thinking all the crazy stuff that those
Oh no, I
going
believed it too.
Oh, you did?
I thought shit was gonna hit the fan. I saw
Oh.
Black Hawk helicopters. There was this military checkpoint at one place where we had to drive. So yeah, things were not usual. You know, it was a state of heightened awareness the whole time.
Wow. When did
But
you
well,
guys
you know what I mean?
realize it was going to be
like my
okay?
situational awareness was forced all the way up the whole time it was all happening.
Wow.
So it's like when we were in South Dakota, that's where we saw the Black Hawk helicopters, and it was like in the hills. So it's kind of like we caught glimpses of them between the trees, and then you're going up and down. So it's kind of like, and the roads twist a lot, and that, you know what I mean? Like, so you can't always keep a track on them. But we saw that they were doing some kind of exercise.
Okay, I found the video that he was talking about. I think it might have been actually hidden. So let me see if it is. NW Predictions and Innovation 2018.
Do you
Okay,
think
so it's
the Dems are desperate enough to try to have the establishment do that?
I don't know. I don't think so. Look, I think they don't really need control. They're just liking everything. The only reason I would think that they might push and hurry for something, although it would be a big mistake for them because you don't rush anything. You have total control already. You've got the war of attrition won. I mean, I've been researching stuff, and I let Kathy B know a lot of like tactical and strategic things that the Native Americans did in you know, in their fight against the colonialism. And I mean, it's great. There's a couple of big tribes out there that the U.S. and I mean, they were just worried about that they didn't even touch, like the Comanches, like the Mexico or France or whoever would try to go after them, and they just get decimated. And the U.S. is going, yeah, let's not mess with them. Let's let the Mexican army mess with them. So the Mexican army got crushed by the Comanches, and then the U.S. army was like, all right, they did the job for us. We'll figure it out later. And every battle out there, you know, the Native Americans would win. And so what the Americans would do is they would figure out, hey, we're not going to win by fighting them the way that they fight, because they're trained their whole lives for war and for battle. They can survive out there without need for supply lines, etc. The only advancement is weaponry, and even then they would take hold of like horses and guns, and they would train with them better than the American soldiers would. So the only way to get at them was kill their food. You know, if they're migratory, they'll hunt buffalo, kill all the buffalo. Their trade routes, you just make sure that whatever that they have, they need for additional resources, they're going to need to trade, and so you take control of those trade supply routes. And then there's a lot of, they realized, you know, disease was taking a toll on them. There you go. You just and alcohol, they're pretty susceptible to alcoholism. So basically, they would fight a war by not fighting directly with them.
Yeah, it's just like Sun Tzu. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. They would make treaties and break the treaties. You know, wait a while for that treaty to take effect, and then the tribes would be going, hey, these guys are keeping their word. This is nice. And all of a sudden, treaty's broken. They get decimated, you know, by an attack. They get ambushed because they're not expecting a treaty to be broken, because they actually live up to their, honor, their treaties and stuff. So exactly, they ended up taking them down indirectly, and so I feel like they don't need to push anything. They don't need to. I think the only reason they would want to is because they are fixated on numerology, right? And so within that numerology, within these sacrifices, etc., they're like, all this stuff, it should be happening right now, but it's not. So their belief system is starting to be splintered in a way. And so they don't like that idea of that their belief system not working right. So they're going to want ahead and push along. I think that's a mistake if they do that, but you never know. Here we go. I'll show you that clip from Richie from Boston. Let me know what you think.
Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. Today's the 13th of March, 2018. If you guys were following me last night on the backup channel, we got about 6 minutes into the live stream where Josh Reeves and myself were talking about electronic harassment. And Josh, located in Texas, fell out of the hangout. He lost connection. And while I was trying to resend it to him, I lost internet. Is that a conspiracy? I have no idea. We're having a blizzard right now, so the weather was bad. Maybe we lost connection, but I don't know. Excuse me. At any rate, what you're looking at is a video I put up back in May of 2016, and it was talking about the White House .gov document, and they were talking about aliens, UFOs, so forth and so on. What you're looking at here is a video that I put up back in October of 2016, where it was the Clinton Foundation leaked documents about a planned alien invasion, complete with Clinton's Baphomet-riddled insignia and the Benison Strategy Group, so forth and so on. And what you're looking at here is a video that I put up in August of 2017, and it was talking about how NASA needs help defending against aliens. You seeing a common theme? These are all from official outlets. Do you see what I'm saying? The White House, the Clinton Foundation, NASA. And what you're looking at here is a video that I put up at the end of 2017, where once again the Pentagon finally admits aliens. And they talk about Roswell, they talk about this, and they talk about that. But are you catching on to the theme going on? Do you see the direction that the government and that the powers that be are pushing the citizens? Well, it's an old story. It's been around for a long time. Bill Cooper warned us about this. Now, Bill Cooper, a lot of people say a lot of stupid things, and they make videos about it, and a lot of people listen to the videos and think it's true. Bill Cooper was killed for his beliefs. Bill Cooper told us about Osama bin Laden and the things that would follow. Do you see what I mean? And for that, Bill Cooper lost his life. So there's that. But listen to this and check out this document. All links to the Iron Mountain report, to the Japanese documentation will be in the description. So check this out. And if my channel happens to go down for any reason, here's some alternative places you can find me because my website is almost done. You can find me on BitChute, and I will leave a link in the description. As you can see, I just posted a video this morning where Mike Decker literally forced deputies to take down a report about geoengineering. Now, pay attention because geoengineering plays into all of this. And like 541 people have already discovered, you can find me on Patreon, where I use Patreon as like Facebook because there's no trolls, and as of yet, there's no censorship. So again, links will be in the description. Now, back to the aliens. Here's Bill Cooper explaining that all the way back to 1917, they were discussing a staged alien invasion. So think about that. Horse and buggies, cars were just invented, so forth and so on. These guys are already looking this far ahead to the future. It's no way that it's just mere mortals. These people are demonically inspired, or they're dealing with fallen angels, because fallen angels, man only thinks in time blocks of, 60, 75 years. Fallen angels think in ions. They think in eternity. They've been thinking about this since 1917. Listen to Mr. Cooper.
First thing I did was collect every bit of documentation that I could find, both from the Freedom of Information Act, from the research of others, from books that had been printed on the subject of UFOs, and of course through my network of friends in the intelligence community. What I discovered was amazing. What I discovered, ladies and gentlemen, is that there has been a plan in existence since about 1917, and probably before that, to create an artificial extraterrestrial threat to this Earth in order to create a one-world totalitarian socialist government. One of the first documents that I found in my search was this one. The Imperial Japanese Mission 1917, a record of the reception throughout the United States of the special mission headed by Viscount Ishii. And when the Imperial Japanese Mission was in New York City, they had a dinner, and some pretty famous people spoke at this dinner. One of them was John Dewey. John Dewey is the father of our failing, disastrous public education system. Here's what he said. Listen very carefully. John Dewey, professor of philosophy in Columbia University, who was the next speaker, was listened to with great intentness. He said, quote, "Someone remarked that the best way to unite all the nations on this globe would be an attack from some other planet. In the face of such an alien enemy, people would respond with a sense of their unity of interest and purpose." Unquote. Now, bear in mind, folks, that's 1917. One of the next documents that I found, and I found quite a few, but one that's pretty important, is called the Report from Iron Mountain. The probability and desirability of permanent peace. The probability and desirability of permanent peace. Now, I encourage you to find this book wherever.
Links will be in the description. If you were smart, you would download this and print this up. Have a hard copy. Because when all of this comes to fruition, and according to the news today, this is coming really soon. It explains why. It explains so many things, and I'm going to go through all of them in this video. This video is not short. This video is a lot of research combined into however long this video goes. So there's that.
You can find it. I don't know where you can get it, but find it. Page 66. Credibility, in fact, lies at the heart of the problem of developing a political substitute for war. This is where the space race proposals, in many ways so well suited as economic substitutes for war, fall short. The most ambitious and unrealistic space project cannot of itself generate a believable external menace. It has been hotly argued that such a menace would offer the last best hope of peace, etc., by uniting mankind against the danger of destruction by creatures from other planets or from outer space. Experiments have been proposed to test the credibility of an out-of-our-world invasion threat. And it continues on another page. Nevertheless, an effective political substitute for war would require alternate enemies, some of which might seem equally far-fetched in the context of the current war system. It may be, for instance, that gross pollution of the environment can eventually replace the possibility of mass destruction by nuclear weapons as the principal substitute for war.
Now here's a look into my video files. I've been following Dr. Stephen Greer's work for a long, long time. So TruthStream Media already beat me to the punch, and she put out a video about Stephen Greer. But I'm going to show you a couple of things real quick so you can understand this. Now, the purpose for this video entirely, let me put this on pause for a minute. The purpose for this video, what got me going on this today was this news report. Once again, the mainstream is pushing this meme. Once again, here we go.
unidentified flying objects.
The Defense Department says it ended the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program in 2012 because of funding issues. But as CBS 4's Tony DeCoppel shows us, one UFO encounter while the program was running was caught on camera.
Look at this thing. It's rotating.
This is one of the incidents the Pentagon's secretive group of UFO hunters investigated.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the SA. My gosh.
This object appeared off the California coast in 2004 and baffled two Navy pilots.
It's not a drone. It's not something that we can easily say, oh, that's an airplane. Or
Luis Elizondo ran the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program at the Defense Department. He believes the way that school bus-sized object moved defied the known laws of physics.
What we are looking at is truly beyond next-generation technologies.
Former Nevada Senator Harry Reid championed the UFO program, and some of the funding reportedly went to one of his donors, Robert Bigelow, founder of the military contractor Bigelow Aerospace. The Las Vegas tycoon spoke with 60 Minutes in May.
Do you imagine that in our space travels we will encounter other forms of intelligent life?
You don't have to go anywhere.
You can find it here.
Yeah.
Where exactly?
And he's absolutely right. It is right under people's noses. These guys have been planning this for time immemorial. There's a reason that quote-unquote ancient people took all the... Imagine the amount of time it would take to carve this. Think about that. You have one solid block of granite or marble or quartz or whatever it is they made these out of. Sometimes they were made out of basalt, which is the hardest material in nature. Imagine you do all of this. Notice the small baby down here, which is probably for a sacrifice, but I don't know. And then the
Their
corner...
chisels have tuning forks on the end of them. That's how they do it.
On it.
Okay.
Carve all of this, and then you screw up on this claw. These were done perfectly every single solitary time, and yet nobody does it today. Do you know what I'm saying?
Also, chemical stone softeners. A lot of modern people don't know those existed.
Stone.
And still exist.
We're interacting with on Earth. What they're calling today demons and aliens are what everyone else called angels and demons. Do you know what I'm saying? I meant to say UFOs and aliens, but whatever. I digress. How about that? This stuff has been around forever. And this is an old quote that goes back to Aleister Crowley, and it's exactly what I'm saying to you right now. Today they call them angels and demons. Tomorrow they will call them something else. Well, tomorrow is here, and they are absolutely, without a doubt, calling them something else.
You can find it here.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to my files. I've had Stephen Greer on my radar for a long time, and I've spent an awful lot of time researching. Sadly, with the world that we live in today, where every single solitary day, pretty much in a predictable way, you can point out that, I don't know, for instance, there's going to be a staged attack in Texas, and then suddenly in the news, there's people leaving package bombs. You can see that your channel's on Bloomberg and say your channel will probably be down the next day, and then it is. You can tell people they're going to start using weather as a weapon, and right now I am sitting through a blizzard after enduring 2 back-to-back nor'easters, which don't happen in nature, but they happened here. Do you see what I'm saying? The reason most people can predict this stuff, or at least see it coming with a fair amount of predictability, is they've told us their entire plan. Most people just don't want to see it. Dr. Stephen Greer has had the ability to sit down in front of Congress. He's made movies. He's done all these other things. He brings people out, and these are the UFOs. Now, if you notice, there's a common attribute to all the UFOs that these guys sit down and summon, because that's exactly what they do. They sit down, they meditate, and they invite these beings. Well, pretty much anybody can do that. And if you look at these things, they all share one common thing. They're all angels, or they're all masquerading as angels of light, or as Greer puts it, UFOs. Greer brings people out into the middle of the desert and encourages everybody to literally take part in a conjuring ceremony. And that's all they're doing. And that's exactly what they're getting. They're getting the results. They're seeing miracles and wonders in the night sky. Nothing more. They're allowing Greer to be the spokesman for their evil alien invasion. And another person that's a spokesman for this, I can't forget him, is my favorite person, Dr. David Keith. Dr. David Keith and Gordon McKay came out in 2017 and told us that they were going to start spraying the atmosphere to bounce the sun's light back into outer space. And again, the sun's light, outer space, so forth and so on. I don't have any time to go into that, but there's so many things wrong with that. No one's got that. I don't have that much time on my computer, put it that way. Notice the Keith group has their little coat of arms up there, you know, a nod towards the Vatican, because it's all tied together. The Vatican, the Catholic Church, all of that stuff is simply to deceive and lead people down the wrong path. And that's exactly what they've done. But I digress. At any rate, I have spent literal hours and hours and hours of my life videotaping chemtrails, videotaping the skies. It's exactly how I got my start in the quote-unquote truth community, which is just a mere shadow of itself. But again, I digress. They came out in 2017 openly admitting that they were going to start spraying the sky, even though we had been documenting for years them spraying the sky, and then even predicting weather, tornadoes. Dutch Since used to show the video of the radar, and he would tell people there would be a storm or there would be tornadoes. He literally predicted Joplin before it occurred. The reason he's doing that is because he's seeing a cycle. He's seeing what they're doing. When these guys came out in 2017 and said they were going to start spraying the atmosphere to prevent global warming, I told you then, and I'm telling you now, it is going to all be part of the staged alien invasion. They're going to use the stuff in the atmosphere, just like you're looking at right now. Think of this as a giant movie screen. Do you see what I'm saying? The sky's loaded with heavy metals, which are highly reflective, which give you the rainbow effect and makes it look like oil in water. Do you see what I mean? This is a picture from my backyard of the sun. That is the sky. Now imagine them doing this over this. This is at a concert, and this is 3 years old. Look at the technology and look at the atmosphere in this room. You can see through it. It's not cloudy. You know what I mean? It doesn't look anything like this at all. So imagine the effects they can produce on a backdrop like this. They can do this in a room full of people and you cannot see the source. Imagine. And this was just a small look. You know what I mean? They can do amazing things right now. And that's what they're prepping us for. They call in all the experts. They have Stephen Hawking. They have the Lee Clinton Foundation. You know what I'm saying? They have everybody. Stephen Greer, aliens, the Air Force, the military, Bigelow, the Pentagon. This was predicted a long time ago. And it finally appears that they're getting ready. A lot of people, I mean, I see this happening with truthers that I used to follow, that preach the word, that tell you the truth. They explain about angels, they explain about demons, they explain about everything. And then they seem to, you know, they have children. They give birth to new life on this earth. How much can you believe in the words you're saying if you're bringing another person into a world that has absolutely no future? Do you know what I'm saying? How did I come to this point? Because these are videos that I took of the sun, moon, and stars a long time ago, and I started to realize that that's not a star. That's not a sun billions of light years away. It's an entity, and it appears to be moving in a fluid. And it turns out an awful lot of other researchers have come to this conclusion as well. For instance, we can pick apart, if they're really in a space station, why all the nonsense? Why all the CGI? In a real world, somebody that was in a contained outer space facility like the space station is claimed to be, this would be no good. You can't even have hair like that in the military, but up in space, none of it makes any sense whatsoever at all. And it appears we're at the end of the road where they're going to start and try to pull this off. Without a doubt. You've been warned. Now, a lot of people, I kind of lost this train of thought earlier. A lot of people have been hearing this for a long, long time, and it hasn't happened yet, so it's probably never going to happen. Think about the enormity of this entire thing. You have one shot to fool everybody all at once, and that's it. And that's exactly the shoes that they're in. So they're using their doctors, they're using their physics guys, they're using NASA, the military, everyone to prepare people. Not to mention the predictive programming that goes into every movie, every television show. This goes all the way back to the War of the World. After their decision in 1917, as I outlined at the beginning of this video, in 1938, Orson Welles and his colleagues put together a radio show, but they never told anybody that this was a test. What they did is they went on the radio and they told people all over the United States that were sitting next to their radios, because this was the 30s, that we were being invaded by aliens from outer space. And what this was one of the first psyops to see what the reaction of the public would be. And to the guys that were conducting this, it was favorable because people freaked out. Well, think about what they're going to do now, because you watch all these alien movies and you see how they show you in the movies how people would react. They're training you, whether you understand it or not. They're using your subconscious. Do you see what I'm saying? At any rate, Richie from Boston, like, share, and subscribe. Share this information because it's coming. 2018 is here. I'm out.
Well, I find it interesting because it would have to be 100-year plan, because they would have to first suppress technology for 100 years to convince everyone that what they can make is actually alien. But it does seem like we've gone through 100 years of technological suppression.
Yeah. I don't know. The biggest thing about what he just had that there is that he predicts it for 2018. It's like,
well, who knows what would have happened if Hillary won? But honestly, I think one of the reasons why Trump might be wanting to make a Space Force a public idea is so that people aren't blindsided by all these high-tech things as they start getting revealed. Like, I think ultimately his Space Force is just a way to start getting things off the black budget and getting the public used to the ideas.
Ideas of?
That we have more advanced technology than we have, because they would need way more advanced technology than what the public's used to in order to convincingly fool people of an alien invasion. You couldn't just put videos up on the internet. People would have to see the ships in their cities actually doing damage. And, you could stage all of it in a sense that, yeah, it's a hologram and maybe there's planted bombs and stuff like that. But at the same time, if you actually, like all these UFOs, like the ones in that video they were showing there, assuming it isn't CGI, I'm more inclined to believe it's something that humans built and it's just off the books.
Yeah.
So, suppress technology for like a century, get way more advanced shit than people are familiar with, and then try to convince them that you're an invading aliens. What I found interesting about the story he told is that they were just having been received at the Japanese embassy. So America's diplomatic relationship with Japan just prior to that era, in like the 1917 era, like with like the Meiji Restoration in Japan and all of that, America had used like gunship tactics to basically secure the trade treaties they wanted with Japan.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the American elite realized, hey, wouldn't it be amazing if we could just use gunship tactics on our own population to get what we want? And, you would need the technological gap and all that stuff and all that. You know what I mean? And what's interesting is in ancient Sparta, they would do this. In Sparta, like almost every Spartan family owned at least like 10 slaves, okay? They didn't own them, the state owned them, but then they were entrusted to that Spartan warrior, okay? Every year on the same day, I can't remember the name of the holiday, the Spartans would basically commit an atrocity against their slaves for no reason. They would just, all of them, they'd just do something really horrific. It'd usually be pretty bad. And they did this every year to remind their slaves that they're in a constant state of conflict with the Spartans themselves. That, they're subjugated, but the war isn't over.
Okay.
because it had to do with the Spartan philosophy. It basically traumatized the people, right?
Yeah.
And, that's the same kind of thing. The idea that declaring war on your own subjects every once in a while just to keep the fear in them and, keep them easy to control and manipulate in that regard. It all makes sense in terms of a globalist plot. I don't know if it's literally going to happen in 2018, but I think that it seems credible for their modus operandi.
The difference between Spartans and now is that the lead or whoever, the people in office or people in power, I would say, are the ones doing it to us, and it's hidden. They don't want to know us to know that they're the ones doing it. They're saying it's terrorists or it's aliens or it's it's everyone but them, right? So that's the only difference. And
I wonder what the largest country you could actually put together would be that you could get away with running without these kinds of tactics. Like, I'm wondering, is it possible to actually keep a country of 300 million people together without this kind of manipulation, or would they naturally drift apart and secede?
That's a good question.
Because what united the U.S. through most of the 20th century was the threat of the Soviet Union, right? That brought all Americans across the country together. But without that one unified threat anymore, everyone's like diverging in the same way that people in the south of England and the north of England don't even seem like the same ethnic group.
Well, the thing is, up till the formation of the U.S., as we kept adding in states, it's always been the constancy of war, or the threat of war, where it kept the federal government somewhat strong. That we wanted a standing army. We wanted to figure out, okay, how do we want figure out our interstate commerce stuff, and so it's like early on, everyone wanted to be their own state, have powers of the state supersede that of the federal government, etc. Then it started becoming more reverse, and reverse is like, hey, we're growing, things are getting more complicated, it's just easier to have a centralized government. And plus, we've got all these threats out there. We keep having these wars. If it's not France, if it's not Spain, if it's not England, if it's the Native Americans, it's someone, Mexico, it's always something. And then, of course, as 20th century rolls around, world wars, and then communism. So, yeah, I think war has always been a constant unification for opting people to stick together rather than being apart. But the thing is, if all these wars have been fomented by these hidden groups in control of the banks, in control of everything, and they're all to blame, who knows what it could be like, because they've been controlling things since the get-go. I mean, there's a lot of tribes out there, Africa, even Native Americans, even South America, that really didn't have huge wars. They were pretty much fine, but of course they didn't have all the stuff that we always had, as far as technology and industrial revolution sense.
Oh yeah, war goes along with civilization. I mean, if you're living a subsistence lifestyle, warfare beyond, killing that animal you want to eat might not actually be a thing for you, just because. I mean, think about this. Okay, so the Roman legion, they would, in 1 week, their animals would eat something like 14,000 pounds of fodder.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you have a group of like one legion, like 4,800 fighting men, their support staff, and then all the animals, you're gonna need like every month. It's either every week or every month. They were using 14,000 pounds of hay and straw and stuff. So yeah, war is an endeavor that requires civilization to exist.
Yeah.
You can't project force without that kind of infrastructure. Yeah, but that's the thing though. I mean, with war, really, it's key to civilization. I mean, all of civilization since the Bronze Age has been one-upmanship, saying we have to keep ahead of the curve or we're going to be the ones enslaved.
We had this conversation before a long time ago. How
sorry to repeat myself.
No. It wasn't with you. It was actually with other people. That like technology advancement even is mostly due to war, and the one-upmanship that you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like I think the model that I remember reading specifically about in 1177 BCE or BC. It's a really good book. Some people say it's controversial, but I don't agree that it's controversial. I think it makes a lot of sense.
But I always tend to think that we would come across these technologies, these ideas eventually, but the war just brings about an acceleration.
Because think about it. If you're mining copper and tin to make bronze weapons, if you don't have, okay, so basically there's certain jobs you just can't make free people do. So for example, working in a Bronze Age mine, no, you're going to need to make somebody do that. Either they're going to be a criminal or a captured enemy or whatever, some kind of slave or underclass. And if you don't have an underclass hauling out 10 tons of that ore, every so many units of time, that you can then use to make the tools you need to farm, and then whatever's left over you make for weapons and armor for defense. A group of people who has slaves is going to be in a lot better position to avoid becoming slaves than people who won't use slavery. Like the people who won't use slavery inevitably fall behind that curve because they don't have the cheap labor.
Yeah. Well, they can always do other tactics, but
well, yeah, that of course. Like if you're talking about like a mountainous region where it's very easy to defend, there's only so many passes into it. They have a decent amount of farmland in, a valley somewhere or a dale that's contained, geographically that they can protect easily. Oh yeah, a group like that could hold out for a very long time.
Well, not just defense, but just raiding. Raiding, take either the supplies or kill all the miners. They're gonna be defenseless. Who's gonna guard them? Who's gonna want to protect their lives? The soldiers. And if they do, then the armies can be split. I mean, it just all depends on who your, I guess, war leader is. Because if there was a group, one that didn't have slaves and one that did have slaves, you can have many different solutions to fight.
Oh yeah, like inciting rebellion and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So,
yeah, in that regard, I think that's one of the reasons why ending human slavery was just an inevitability anyway, because once automation was in full swing and we could have slaves that we could design to not rebel, it would just be like, okay, well, what's the point of subjecting humans to that?
Yeah. Anyways, we went way off topic, but it was a fun topic. I didn't see Ryan start anything, so I'll go and do an open topic, if that's cool with you.
Sure.
All right. Oh, I didn't click on that join thingy. All right.
It's actually something I thought of it like an hour after I talked to him at like 5:30 this morning, but there was something Ryan said, and I didn't have a good response to it at the time.
Do you want to say that now, or do you want to wait?
Oh no, I might as well wait and say it to
Okay.
him. It's not like a burn or anything.
All right.
It's just at the time I was too tired to remember what I was gonna say.
Okay. All right. So everybody who's watching, you guys can stay on. You can stay on, Perseus, to Zoom. We're just gonna switch it to an open topic. Anything goes. I'll see you guys in a few minutes.